Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. The topic for today's conversation is nosy neighbors and crime pages.
Two of our favorite things.
Not my favorite things.
I don't think we have a whole lot of nosy neighbors in our neighborhood, but
No, not in our neighbor. Our neighbors are pretty good neighbors around here, except for the old asshole across the street. I can't get a handle on that guy.
well, and I always think like maybe he's not an asshole. Maybe he just looks like, one of those get off my lawn type of people.
Oh, no, he's nice to me when you're around.
Oh,
That's
I think
that's
his wife likes me.
I don't know, but every time I drive down the street when I'm by myself and I wave at him, he just scowls at me. And when I see him outside, I wave at him and no response. But when you go out there, he's all nice as can be, and I don't think he likes me.
Yeah,
He's an older gentleman, and I did, that one time I threw a stick of dynamite in his yard.
yeah. Well, you didn't know he was going to come down the street.
Now, that was funny, but it could have been bad. It could have went some different directions, but we had fun with it. They did call the cops, which
It's like until the police started knocking on the door.
right. But we wanted to talk to you about nosy neighbors this morning and crime pages because our local on our Facebook, our local groups we have some crime page groups here on Facebook for our local city here, and I was just out of curiosity. I did look up, other places and crime pages, and we're not the only city in America with crime pages.
No.
But are they doing any good?
No. I don't know. I think sometimes they have good and sometimes they have bad. Just from my own personal experience putting on the crime page several years ago, we had this guy show up to the house offering tree service
Right.
for our sick tree.
And thank
out
goodness
front.
I was home.
Yeah. And so just pulled up in a real, kind of broke down truck telling me all about how my tree was sick and it had this and how he serviced trees up the street, the same type of evergreens. But then me, knowing that there's I've never seen any other evergreens up the street.
Right.
I'm pretty sure our evergreen's the only one on the street. Or is it a pine tree?
I have
don't know.
no idea, but I didn't really think about that until just now.
Yeah.
When you brought that up.
Yeah, and so I just put on the crime page hey, everybody in this area, just kind of keep an eye out because I know we have a lot of elderly in this area,
Right.
and I didn't want them to get taken advantage of. And I got beat up by people on that crime page. People can't even knock on people's doors nowadays.
Right.
Blah blah. Blah. Then a couple weeks later,
that truck, honestly, and not to sound like a snob because we don't live in a rich neighborhood, but that vehicle did not belong in our neighborhood. No. And it was easy to tell. Now, I've got a broken down piece of shit myself. I've got a 20-year-old car sitting out in my driveway, leaks oil, leaks transmission fluid, $500 piece of crap, I love that car, but it doesn't fit in our neighborhood.
yeah, this was a turd color brown
Yeah,
truck with a camper shell.
It was an old box style Chevy is what it was.
Yeah.
And it was rusted out and barely ran, and it didn't really fit in this neighborhood. There's no houses around here with old beat up cars, and
Yeah.
our vehicle is the worst one on the street.
Well, and I got beat up on that page, and one of the people I knew that was commenting, saying man, people can't even make a living anymore because people like you are blasting them out on Facebook.
Well, you're not going to make a living off of me anyway.
And I was I literally put in the post, it may be legit. I don't know, but just in case, it seemed kind of off. And then a couple weeks later, same guy, they have his picture out there hey, he took me for $800.
Yeah.
And then I come to find out doing my own research that, he's a well-known criminal.
Yeah, what he tried to say was our tree was dead in our front yard. And while it'd been pecked on by a woodpecker, all season long, and it was turning kind of brown, it wasn't dead. And it was far from dead. And I was like, and at that time we were renting anyway. And I said, look, dude, I rent. I told the landlord about it. He doesn't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to handle that myself. You know, like if you weren't home, I think you would have just not answered the door. Right.
Yeah.
And we have an alarm system. We have security. You know, Lord knows we got 500,000 weapons around here. But, you know, it was a situation where you felt like you wanted to keep the neighborhood
Yeah.
updated on what was going on, especially people around here, and you got blasted. But it seems like they could put all kinds of stupidity on there, like, you know, ambulance at so-and-so's house.
Oh, that's the worst.
Ambulance on address, whatever. And then I've
why is
seen
it anybody's damn business why an ambulance is at somebody's house? Like the ambulance is across the street at our elderly neighbor's house like once a month.
right.
Why is that? If I ever seen that, I'll post it on Facebook. Like I would probably go off because it's nobody's business if the
Right.
ambulance is at your house.
And it bothers me when I see people giving updates to everybody, you know, like, oh, careful, there's an ambulance over on such and such. And man, I know that we got to, you know, like the police gives us Nixle alerts on our phones. I mean, you have to sign up for it, but they give you alerts on your phone to stay out of certain areas and stuff. And I understand that the crime pagers are wanting to help, especially the one that I'm a member of.
But I think they do more harm in that aspect because
I think so too.
Because then you got looky-loos.
And it seems
Is that still
like
a word, looky-loos?
Yeah, well, I use it all the time. But the looky-loos are what keeps those pages going, and they are a good resource to check up on every now and then. But there are people that keep that updated, like every 5 minutes. You know, like Scanner. They sit around and listen to the Scanner and then post it on Facebook.
Yeah. Now there's some moderators of the group I know you're talking about that I think put only, you know, pertinent information, only information that, you know, I think that
she thinks is pertinent.
Maybe
like
be. But then there's another lady that puts every single thing, and I'm like, that is so unnecessary.
Every call,
like, last week it was EMS called to such and such school. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that.
Maybe a child was having an allergic reaction. Like now you're having a bunch of parents freak out and call the school.
Right, exactly. I mean, the school that they were talking about has approximately 2,000 students in it. And when you've got that many kids, well, let's think about it. You've got, well, let's just say half of them are family kids. So you got like 3,000 parents.
Yeah.
You know, and when you got that many parents and ambulance called to the school, and they don't tell you, oh, it's your kid, or you haven't heard anything, so you're freaking out thinking about all the different possibilities that could have, you know, like overdose at the school. That's a possibility these days. And they didn't care about the parents. They didn't care about the students, you know, and I don't,
the faculty,
I never did,
like,
I didn't follow up on that because it did upset me that I saw that, because next year we'll have a student there.
Yeah. I absolutely hate when I see.
That's not the first time I've seen it either. That's like the second time since Christmas that I've seen that. And it's wild that like, it's none of your business. Let the school let us know.
Yeah. Like I thought, like when it says crime page, like I thought that was crime, not medical emergencies.
Yeah.
So medical emergencies are nobody's business. Like to me, like I understand they're not releasing names, but I mean, like, I think that should be against the law. You shouldn't be able to like.
Where I do see that they're helpful sometimes is missing persons. That's a absolute big deal, and you know, kids that just take off on foot. You know,
or like sometimes when there's like, so in our town, I know that we have a horrible like auto theft issue. Yeah, and we got that one guy that helps. Yeah. He helps better than the police find cars.
I actually spoke to the police on that. They said they stopped looking. They don't, and the reason why is for safety.
Yeah.
And they know they've got a hot, obviously they've got hot sheets. Yeah. And they don't go looking for them at all.
Yeah. Well, and like when your niece's car got stolen, like that guy found it, the police didn't. And it was because of social media. He had found it. Like that's what helped him find it. But
what I thought was crazy over that whole deal was there's the police told me about 2 different chop shops that are here in our little bitty city.
Yeah. Population
of less than 100,000 people. And we've got 2 chop shops here. And that is one of the strangest things. We have a lot of property crime here. That's one of the things that we have a lot of is property crime and drugs. And I mean, there are some violent crimes around here, but they're mostly confined to the home.
Well, and just like when you see, it kind of bothers me too when like they post like, oh, domestic at such and such block or whatever. Like, okay, not all domestics are some guy beating the hell out of his girlfriend or his wife.
Yeah, sometimes.
But then you have like 80 people commenting like, like, oh, the guy's beating the hell out of his wife or whatever. Like, and they have no idea. So like, I mean, that shit's just crazy.
And then when we got murders happening up the street, there's
you don't hear nothing about it.
No, there's so many that like later on in the week we did, they had out on the crime page and there was X amount of comments from the lady's son and the pros and cons to me of social media and the crime pages, the pros are obviously, help finding missing persons, help finding lost items or stolen items.
Yeah, because like sometimes people will find like somebody's purse in an alley and be like, "Hey, so and so,"
or Walmart, or those are the things that it's good for. But like posting up like everybody's business, like that's what I said, nosy neighbors.
Yeah,
because they do that shit, in my opinion, because they're just nosy.
Yeah,
and I don't want all my business. I can't count how many times I've come home and thought, well, somebody probably saw me doing that and it might be on the crime pages, but I didn't do anything wrong. I can't count how many times I was involved in 2 hit and runs in the last 10 years. And, they were both
where you were the victim.
Yeah, I was a victim. And one of those things I was worried about is coming home and having my name and my picture blasted all over Facebook thinking I did something wrong. I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Or
people parking all fucked up and people blasting their picture on the crime page.
Yeah,
like who cares? Like go on about your day.
Yes, at Walmart, there was
Is that
a
the
Hummer.
hill you want to die on?
Exactly. Pick your battles. Pick your battles, people, because like I know nobody cares if you really piss people off or upset anybody, but think about other people when you're like shut down the computer or close the phone and go outside.
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem with some of the people that run those pages because they comment
take that
on there.
Shit seriously.
Yes, they do. You comment your opinion on there and they get all like, oh, go find your own page.
Yeah. So that's one thing that irritates me about moderators of some pages. Like
they think it's the most serious thing in the world, don't they? They take themselves too seriously.
Not only that, but they are allowed to post their opinions, thoughts on the page, but then other people aren't, and they shut the commenting off on their stuff. And I'm like, no. As
soon as I see that, I check out of the whole page because I know
I've removed myself from
there's
so
only
many
half
pages.
the story being told, and I'm like,
and keep your politics off crime pages. Seriously.
I don't know. I'd like, I mean, that's part.
I mean, I know that's how we find out most stuff about our school district. But seriously,
that's my nosy neighbor aspect of it's like watching a train wreck sometimes, and you can't look away. So, I see those crime pages as more of an annoyance, really, because to be honest with you, I think everybody should just check out of social media because it's not being used for what it was originally used for. Everybody uses it as a source of news or, like it's not a town hall,
No.
Go to your own town hall outside, and look up. It's a big old building, probably a lot of flags outside. Go hang out there and you'll see that it's, go talk to people.
Yeah.
That's the thing I see a lot of. It was like people getting stuck in their phones, stuck on social media, and seeing all these opinions, but they're not talking to people face to face. So they don't have any, like, on the internet and social media. Nobody's like, there are people on there that will say things that wouldn't say those things to your face, and they're mean, and I don't really necessarily care. I don't pay attention to that, but I'm just, I do check out of the conversation once it heads that way, because I know they wouldn't say that to my face, and I'm a person just like they are. And if they saw that, if they were face to face with me and saw that I was a person, they wouldn't say the things that they were saying, because I'm not even sure people agree with what they're saying online. Mm-hmm. It's just they're saying it to disagree with someone else.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts and opinions on that. And I think you did some looking up to see if there was a correlation between social media. Is crime getting worse, or is it just being reported more?
Yeah. So I did kind of like a quick little search. Well, first of all, I just like searched Facebook for crime page. Like I just put in crime and then went to the groups. And so I was able to pull up just 15 crime pages within like a 15-mile radius.
And that is
so that
nuts.
included like Northwest Missouri, Northeast Kansas.
Yeah, well, I mean the metropolitan area, if that's what you want to call it, because so we're 40 square miles here in town, and then outside of that there is a bunch of small little towns that we call our metropolitan area.
I did like like Andrew County,
right,
that sort of thing. So. I just thought that was funny. I was like, man, 15 crime pages in that small of an area. Like, man, people really need to like find something to do with their time.
Now, if they took those and consolidated them to like 5.
Yeah, like all you moderators get together, which I know there's a couple crime pages that like have it out for each other.
And then that's so funny because they do fight back and forth.
And then like we have, a guy in the town I'm from that he kind of has his own thing going on, and everybody thinks it's funny because he reports better than like our local news.
Now you say the town that you're from is like, the town you're from is 15 minutes south of here.
Yeah, like less than like 1,000 people or something.
If you sneeze, you'll miss it. It's a cool little place. I mean, what did they got, a Taco Bell now?
Yeah, they're moving on up. So, but anyways, like when I did like a research, like it was kind of hard to find like, pros, cons, crime pages. Like there's really nothing out there. Like when you search that, it just brings up all the Facebook crime pages.
Right.
And so one thing
I would say if you didn't find any pros and cons of the Facebook crime pages, there probably aren't any pros.
Yeah. So
because if there were pros, the police departments across America and I would.
Well, the majority of what I found was like, like a high percentage of crimes involve Facebook.
Really?
Or social media.
That is
in some aspect.
You must have saved that for the podcast here, because you didn't tell me that yesterday. That's interesting.
So I was like, that's crazy. Or like the FBI will use Facebook to find these crimes or whatever.
That stuff happens
or the
a lot.
local police department or whatever. But one article I did find, because I was like, is crime really high as people say it is? Like, oh, crime's up, or is it just because people talk about it more? As years ago people didn't really talk about it. You heard it on the news, and that's the only place you heard it, or in the newspaper.
A lot of people didn't report crimes that happened to them 20 years ago. I know I didn't. And
now a lot of people, like, I don't know how many people watch the 10 o'clock news, or in our town the newspaper comes out once a week. Yeah, that's kind of suck, really. I mean, when you think about how old our newspaper is, our newspaper started like the beginning of the Pony Express. Yeah. And that's sad that they're only a weekly paper, but they do own like 3 news channels here in town. So that are terrible. But anyways, that's a different story. So what I found was an article that was published in December, and it was that 77% of Americans believe that crime is rising. And so it did break that down into like, Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, whatever, because it was like a Gallup poll is what it was. Yeah. But so overall, 77% of Americans.
And then you got to ask yourself how many people answer those honestly.
Yeah. So believe like crime is rising. But according to FBI data statistics, it's actually declined. And in some aspects, the crime rate is low, hasn't been this low since 1961.
Really?
And even murder is down.
That's wow.
And so,
where did you find that?
So that's on an NBC. It was on NBC News article.
Hey, link that article in this in this show so people can check that out.
Yeah, because it breaks it down by like, the one thing that was up, it said was auto theft, which
property crime.
Yeah.
I mean, so my theory on property crime is when you're going through any economic troubles at all, the property crime is going to get substantially worse. But then you have this strange little thing that happens. The property crime doesn't start going down ever. Yeah. Like in the last 20 years, we've just seen increases. Now, I can only speak on our local issues here because I don't pay attention that much to crime statistics outside of here because, I mean, unless we're traveling somewhere and I need to know what things are like in that area, I don't even look.
Yeah.
But, I mean, past what's on the national news, I forgot where I was. What was I talking about?
Like, so I said, like auto theft. And
property crime. Property crime is up over the last 20 years. So over the last 20 years here in town, I've noticed that property crime has gotten a lot worse. Like we can't leave things outside.
Oh yeah.
And we live in...
We might be able to here, depending.
Maybe, but it's only because we're in a kind of hidden little alcove that, we're down in a little hole on, at the end of a dead end street. So only one way in, one way out. There's cameras everywhere. So, I mean, that might be why we don't get harassed down here, but I don't leave things outside.
Yeah.
But over the last 20 years, I really have noticed that the property crime keeps getting worse, and in good times, it's not getting better.
Yeah.
And like stolen vehicles, like they did put a kibosh on the stolen vehicles. Like we were up in the hundreds there for a long time, and the police department kind of got that back down. But the stealing it, retail theft, is way up.
Oh yeah.
And they've started grocery stores have security guards.
Yeah.
Our local dollar store down the road, Dollar General, they have, now it's an old ass man. He ain't stopping nobody.
Yeah.
But he's a security guard, and he goes in there and volunteers on his days off. And they do pay him, but he's like a paid volunteer.
Well, and I normally see him like around like the holidays in there too, like, November through January or whatever.
Right.
I see him in there. So,
which is strange.
yeah.
What do you got? People stealing the Little Debbie's snack cakes, the Christmas tree cakes? I would.
Maybe. Unless they're a hot commodity.
I have noticed that the property crime's not getting any better. Yeah. And in times of economic uncertainty, the property crime goes up. And then in my experience, it doesn't go back down afterwards. It just doesn't get worse.
Yeah. But as far as like, violent crimes, domestics, like those, according to like FBI data and the other statistics, have declined. But they think that is linked to social media and reporting more
right.
on social media platforms. Or, videos, people taking videos.
Yes,
of,
we live in a nanny state. The United States is starting to turn into a nanny
shoplifters
state.
Or whatever. And so people automatically think, oh my gosh, the crime in my city is so bad because, I saw a video yesterday of this person shoplifting. Okay, well, before, like, you didn't see videos. Everybody didn't have their phone out recording this person or that person.
Yeah.
How many times when we were kids did you hear about a kid stealing a candy bar and his mom making him take it back and pay for it or whatever? Now somebody would record that little kid and put it on social media,
blast
as a
him,
thief,
and Well, I personally, when I look at things on social media, it's not real life to me.
Yeah,
it isn't, because I walk outside and I talk to people, and those people, like when we disagree out like in real life, not on social media. We just disagree.
Yeah.
And we can go on about our, it's not like we're standing out in the middle of the street screaming at each other like we would on Facebook.
Yeah.
And once that started happening to me, once I was started being attacked for giving my personal opinion, I checked out. I stopped using social media, and now I get on there and scroll through to see what's going on, but I don't really interact much with other people anymore. It's because, in my opinion, social media turned people into dickheads.
Well, and that's what, like, I'll see something and I want to comment on it so bad, and I'm like, just don't. Like, just keep going, because it's not worth it.
Well, now we got this podcast, and sometimes I've said a million times that I've got to delete my personal Facebook because somebody might go and dig up something I said 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's not fair, because I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago. And for instance, Patrick Mahomes, a couple of years ago, Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Those of you who don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knows, but Patrick Mahomes. Damn it.
Well, he did post something like about Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah,
like a few years ago or something. Why is Taylor win all the awards or something like that?
And that was before he became a chief, actually.
Yeah.
That was, and so going back that far, somebody had taken something he said when he was like 14 years old and twisted it. And I'm like, do you understand how young that guy is now?
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact how young he was when he wrote that. Not only is he not the same person he was when he wrote that, he's not even the same person he was 3 years ago.
I mean, I think about our 14-year-old.
Yeah, the things that he would say now is not the things he would, like, his opinion wouldn't even be the same.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody ever gives anybody credit for that. And like, I was so scared of that. Now I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't cancel me. I don't care. Like, I'd have to have a following to be canceled anyway. So I'm just here having fun. And, you know, we were talking about Nanny State just a minute ago and how everybody films everything. And did you know, like, in communist countries, people do that a lot? They snitch on each other, and that happens here a lot. And I don't understand. I understand, like, something dangerous is happening, you call the cops or whatever. But
why do you take the time to film it though?
Right? How many times?
Like, you see something, do something. Like,
do something. Like, step in and like.
Like, let me break out my phone and just like film it.
Do you remember what's that movie with Nicholas, National Treasure? Do you remember in National Treasure, they were talking about the Declaration of Independence, and it says, if you can help, you have the responsibility to do so. And that goes hand in hand with, like, the Hippocratic Oath. Like, doctors, it's illegal for them to pass somebody that needs help on the street. I didn't know if you knew that, but if they can help, they have the responsibility to do so.
Yeah.
If everybody followed those, we may not even need police.
Yeah.
You know, if you saw your neighbor being attacked, go help out. Maybe we would need cops. And I get kind of upset when I see cops down here in our area, because if there's cops, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, in the last 20 years since you've known me, how many times have I called the police?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I never. I don't call the police.
I think the only time, like, we've called the police is when we had
something dangerous down here, like
we had all the kids,
dirt bikes and everything.
The dirt bikes riding, and the kids were playing in the park, and it was kind of a dangerous
when we
situation.
first moved in, it didn't bother me. Hearing them running up and down the street, seeing them, it didn't bother me
until they started going through our yard too.
Right, until they started going through our yard, and I've seen how many times they've almost hit people walking, or
one time Dad was out there.
Remember
Dad was out there, and they almost hit him, and they ran over your canna lilies. And,
we've seen that all over the crime pages too. And what it took was the whole neighborhood getting pissed off at one day. I think probably 35 to 40 neighbors called the police department that day.
They came out and put signs up, chains.
They descended upon the neighborhood like it was SWAT. Yeah. And I said, I'll never call them again because they chased those guys down in cars. And I don't know. I don't.
Well, and it was really dangerous too because they were out here on that that factory's property behind us. And like, that's kind of dangerous out there. And so.
Well, and we see a lot of wildlife out there, a lot of deer, a lot of, don't mess with those. I like to look at them. So be quiet, they're sleeping. But, no, I don't, when we see the police in this neighborhood, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because if we see police, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when there's problems in the neighborhood, but usually we don't see cops down here. No. We don't see, like they don't even patrol the neighborhood. Mm-mm. And that's a nice thing to have in a city this big, to have your own little, it feels like its own little city over here.
Well, and they got here like when we couldn't find Rocket and he was in the washing machine, like they got here pretty fast.
And that's another day that we worried about being on the crime pages. And now for the reason, I had thought that little Rocket had got out, and he was how old was he? 5 or 3?
Yeah, 3.
He was 3. And normally I have the deadbolt locked on the door when I'm inside the house with Rocket. That way, if I don't see Rocket, I can just glance at the door and, okay, it's locked. I know he's in here because he doesn't have a key to lock it from the outside. So I keep the doors locked. Well, Caleb had come in the house, left the door unlocked when he came in, and then I was looking all over for Rocket and I couldn't find him. And Caleb's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Hey, it's okay. Just help me find him." And after 2 or 3 minutes, I know you're on the clock. After 2 or 3 minutes, I couldn't find him. I called you. I said, "Call the police." And I'm going to keep looking. Call the police. Get your ass here, and Rocket is autistic, and that's why we had the response that we did, is because Rocket couldn't communicate well. He could talk, but he couldn't communicate where he lived. He couldn't communicate mom and dad's names. He knows us as mom and dad. He doesn't know his address, stuff like that. So I said, call the police, get here. We're going to keep looking. We were out screaming, and I was so scared. I was so scared. But then I came in the house and found him in the washer. And I know you all are, what, in the washer? Yeah, we found him in the washer. He was hiding in the washer from us. And the only reason I knew is because I walked in front of the washer, Rocket, and I heard it very muffled, Daddy. And so I was like, what the heck? Okay. So then I called everybody and called off the dogs. And I told the police department, or I told you to tell the police department to go ahead and respond. And so that when they get here, they can meet Rocket.
Yeah.
In case we ever have any issues. And when the police got here, I said, "Hey, would you mind taking a picture of him in case this happens again?" And now we've, security cameras and everything would take a picture of his face.
Yeah, because she said, yeah, they have like a database that they would put him in to alert them, like if there was any type of crime or anything in that, not the house, but the area.
In the neighborhood, that would let them know that
there's an autistic child at this address.
And not only that, but I've told the security company as well. And so Central Dispatch knows we have kids with learning disabilities in the house. Yeah.
But that was the first thing I did was I checked the crime page to make sure it wasn't on there because I didn't want my family calling
worried
and saying hey, what's going on with
now
Rocket,
if he was actually missing, by all means put it on there. But once you find out everything is okay, maybe we delete that.
Yeah.
Because that was a very stressful day, for me. And of course, if he was actually missing, of course, I want that information out there. I want everybody looking. If you don't know Rocket, if you do know Rocket, I want everybody looking. Of course I do. But then there's the embarrassment factor of, oh, he wasn't actually missing. He was hiding in the washer.
And I've seen that before.
So-
Like they've put on there that parents reported, small child missing, and then he was found hiding in a pile
Right.
of laundry.
And
But like, can you like wait until if it's been a few hours and still, okay, then.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm of the opposite opinion on that. Like, until that kid is found, share the shit out of it. But it was embarrassing
But
for
just
me.
wait a minute. Like that's the thing is like they post stuff as soon as they hear it. Like that one lady, I don't know who she is, but she's not the normal moderator for that one group.
The
But
one
she
that's been on
posts
there, like,
everything.
yeah.
I'm like, why do we need to know that? Like, why? Like, I wrote some notes here. Just what the hell's a lurker? What defines lurking?
So what's the call?
What qualifies somebody as a
What's the
lurker?
call that was on there that? Give us some context.
Like lurkers in the area of
Such and
South 12th Street or whatever. Okay, what were they doing?
What is lurking and what is a lurker?
Like, what did they do that classified them as lurkers? And what is a lurker? Like, were they just walking?
Like, I know what a LARPer is, live action role player.
Or like I feel like nobody can even walk down the street without somebody thinking like they're up to no good.
And that's what they accused you of when you were talking about like, hey, everybody, just to give everybody a heads up, there's this, we'd never seen that guy before.
Yeah.
And what he was saying didn't make any sense because that tree wasn't dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And like knowing this neighborhood, like I know there's no other pine or evergreen trees in this neighborhood.
And that guy's like, oh, I know trees. That's a dead tree. And I don't care.
I don't really care if it's dead or not. It's not my tree.
It's not like it's not like it's a big ass monstrous tree that's going to fall on my house. If it fell over, it might, it's not even going to, if it fell over on my car, I don't think it'd leave a dent.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a small tree.
Like, and so I'm just like, okay, is somebody actually calling this in over, to the police where it's going over the scanner as a lurking? Or is it somebody, because like people are allowed to post stuff on the crime page with the approval of the moderators.
Oh,
and
I see what you're saying now.
So,
did somebody actually call that into the police, or was somebody just
somebody posted it
on
that there were lurkers? So I mean, comment, what's a lurker?
Now, if you guys want to know, I'll shout out the group we're talking about. It's St. Joseph, Missouri is the city. St. Joseph, Missouri, Catch a Crime Scanner Crew. That's what the name of the group is, and and we look at that group all the time, and it just, some of the stuff that's written on there, people talking about a group of kids walking down the street, and it's a group of kids walking down the street. Leave them alone unless they're pulling on door handles or, and if they are, don't call the cops. Just put your head out the damn door and say something to them. And now everybody's, nowadays people are like, oh, I'm going to get shot. Well, that's the chance you're going to have to take. Honestly, I'm sorry, but if I seen a bunch of kids walking down my street pulling on car door handles, I'm going to say something. And if I get shot in the face, I'm going to get shot in the face, I guess, because I don't believe that, ladies and gentlemen, in my whole 38 years of living, I've never been shot in the face by a bunch of kids walking down the road. So, it takes a village. It really does. If you see something happening, instead of putting it on the crime pages, step out there and say something.
Especially when it's kids. Like, I don't like that when, like, off people's Ring doorbells, they're putting, like, if this is your kid, you better get them or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have privacy for the little ones.
Well, when it's dark, like, how are they going to tell if it's their kid or not, But
I don't know. I know where my kids are, but that's a very unusual thing to have, I guess, nowadays. When we were kids, nobody knew where I was.
Yeah, I don't know. I was at home. I was a boring kid. So
You're a boring adult.
Hey, that's how I stay out of trouble, right?
I
keep my side of the street clean.
Yeah, okay? I keep your side of the street clean. No, no. we we've talked about the crime pages and nosy neighbors and instances where we think that should be okay and instances where we find it annoying or whatever. But the bottom line is crime's not getting any worse than it was 20 years ago. The property crime is higher, but it's not. Violent crimes are down all over the country, and a lot of that has to I think a lot of that has to do with I think America's going through a change right now. I think the politics took over the nation for a while and everybody's at each other's throats. But I think now is time for unity, man. I think everybody needs to get together and just love one another, man. It's not that hard.
I was thinking, I think a lot of times too, I know we have a high homeless population.
Oh, Jesus Christ, do we? Yes.
And I think a lot of people automatically, if you're homeless, associate that with you're a criminal. And
well, in this city.
I mean,
in this city, honestly, if you're homeless in this city, it's very easy to do because there's low income jobs, high income housing.
Yeah.
The low income housing has disappeared here. I noticed that 10, 12 years ago that the property is just skyrocketing and rental prices. Holy crap, rental prices went through the roof. This place right here is 1,000 square feet. You'd be lucky if you found a place. Now we had cheap rent when we were renting. 1,000 square feet, about $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
And this little, I don't even know, I call it a shitty little city, but it's not big here by any means. But we are separated from Kansas City. We have our own we're an hour from Kansas City. And so we're not really attached to Kansas City. We're not even a suburb of Kansas City. So we have our own little economic haven here, I guess is what you will. We have everything local.
Yeah.
We have manufacturers, we have distributors, we have stores, we have hospital, we have doctors, we have everything we need in our city.
Yeah.
So we don't need to really the homeless population doesn't really need to travel away from our city, unless they're cold or hot or.
Well, it just made me think of it because the other day, I seen somebody posted,
How do you get rid of all those? How do you help all the chronic homeless around here? I don't even know what the answer is.
I know a lot of it is mental health too, because this particular individual that they had blasted on Facebook, for him, pounding on an ice cooler or something outside of a gas station. I seen him the other day during the day going down the belt. And he's talking to himself, he has a mental health
I've seen on
issue.
that.
So let's blast that mental health issue and that person.
I've seen on the crime pages.
Crazy.
There's this habitual offender keeps getting arrested. I don't think he's homeless, but I don't even remember his name. But on the crime,
I know who you're talking about.
You probably do.
Yeah.
On the crime pages, he's always being kicked out of grocery stores, being kicked out of gas stations. He's just a general annoyance everywhere he goes. And they blast him on Facebook, and I'm of the mind, well, if he's there's got to be something wrong with the guy. There's got to be something wrong upstairs.
They put his picture out there and
and
kind
they
of
make
made a
fun
joke
of him,
about it.
and I'm like, instead of that, why don't you help him up instead of kicking him down?
How many of you have just went out, because I know you've done it. You've actually talked to a homeless guy outside a gas station once and got his story and just talked to him. Why don't people do that more often? Or the guy that owned the appliance
I seen
shop.
how skinny he was, and I asked, I was like, I wonder if he's hungry, and I went over and asked him. I was like, are you hungry? Would you like something to eat? I'll go in there to the store and get you something to eat. And he said yes, and then he told me his story. I don't know if I believed it, but at least I was talking to him and being nice.
Talk to him, the homeless guy we had begging at the corner of that intersection forever, that everybody in the city complained about on the crime pages forever, but nobody did anything to reach out to this guy to help him. They just.
I'd ask him, is this corner any more successful than the corner down the street?
But the guy that owned the appliance store, made a connection with him and got
Oh,
his
yeah.
story and tried to
Yeah.
help him and got him.
That's right. That's right. He needed to go south, travel, and
Yeah.
and hook back up with his family. What had happened was,
I think it was California. He got him back out to like California or Washington, back with his family, and
yeah, what had happened was he had been traveling and got stuck somewhere, and
and the guy did have like some substance abuse issues and
Yeah.
some mental health issues, but like,
oh, and he was willing to talk about it, and he's like, I just want to go home,
Yeah.
and so that guy made a collection on social media and got enough money to get him a bus pass home.
yeah,
I thought that was really neat.
yeah, he just talked to the guy and like, you know, there are some people out there because like, you know, I talked to the one lady at the gas station. She's like, yeah, like we always have this homeless guy that kind of hangs around. And I told him like, hey, help me pick up the trash in the parking lot and empty
Yeah.
the trash and I'll buy you lunch or whatever.
Right.
You know,
And we've
instead
had
of
our-
having him out there begging the customers and
Had our
harassing
local
them.
police department put out alerts that, hey, stop feeding the homeless. It's so sad, but I mean, it's kind of true. They're like strays. If you keep feeding them, they're going to keep coming around.
I mean,
and they're
now we
never gonna-
have ones holding signs that said, I need weed. Like it's not even food or money. It's I need
And-
weed.
And I tell you what, we don't. What do they call the sanctuary city? It's not a sanctuary city here, but it's far from right wing. I think we're. I think what the thing is, like, we're kind of middle of the road here. Like we got a Democratic city, right? And we got Republican people, and we live in a red state, blue city. And it's kind of a strange little thing, but it works here. And we've got the best of both worlds here. We've got I mean, there is help. There's just not enough help, and I don't know what to do about the situation because housing them isn't helping.
Yeah.
Because like they can opt out of that because, oh, I can't have my drugs, or oh, I can't have my dog, you know. The rules, that's the reason why we have a huge homeless population here, is because they don't like to follow rules. There is plenty of help out there. There's plenty of shelters, plenty of, like, there's jobs even, these, like, but the police are like, hey, the ones that are out there on the corners asking for help, we've done investigations, we've sat around and watched, and it's like they're getting enough money to pay for their hotel room, and then they're going to the hotel room. They're not helping themselves, and you're not helping them either. And so the best thing everybody could do is offer them a job, or, you know, see if they want to get their circumstances better, because obviously there's a lot of people out there that don't want to make their circumstances any better, and they just keep living off of donations. And some of those people have more money than we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw it Walmart the other day. Somebody out there begging with a damn sign went and got in a nice ass vehicle. And I'm like, what's the point in working?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't have anything nice.
Yeah, I did see a guy at Walmart one day, like when I was getting gas, and I just watched him, and he got out of like a really nice SUV, and it was like December, and he put on his nice Carhartt coat, and he had like this nice face mask out, and then like got in the back of the SUV and grabbed his cardboard and went out there, and I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, here I am, and you know, the Crown Vic, and I'm like, put my last $5 in my gas tank.
You don't even have a coat. You don't even have a coat. Like,
Well, I wear a hoodie. So
I don't have a, if it wasn't given to me, I wouldn't have a coat either. So,
yeah.
Well-
I just have other priorities.
well, actually, it's that about that time. You gotta, ladies and gentlemen, Ashley she's got to go to work, and this is not our normal recording day, but we had some ideas on the next show, and we couldn't wait to record it. So here we are.
Yeah.
And
we got up at, I got up at 4:30 this morning.
woo! Yeah, I'm super dog ass tired, but we're hanging in there, and it's what day is it? It's like Wednesday, and
Get to go to the dentist today. It's going to be great.
Oh, I forgot about all that stuff. I have to take everybody everywhere, and that's a general annoyance for me. But anyway, we talked about the crime pages that we talked about the pros and cons and social media, and we talked about is it doing any good? I don't. The crime. We did look up some statistics and everything. The crime rate is not getting worse. It's actually going down. It's just being reported more, which I could see that a long time ago. I've got people in my life that's been trying to tell me that for a very long time. When I was bitching about the crime rate here in town, I had a lot of people that have been here a long time, since before I was born, and they were like, it's not bad here.
Yeah.
Like the 70s, that was bad.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a nice little, we don't have any more problems here than any other city our size.
No. I mean, like my mom, even when she was like a deputy, like, I mean, the same issues back in the early 90s as
Yeah. It's not like,
it's not really any different.
it's not like Kansas City here. It's not like, now I say it's not like Kansas City here. I like Kansas City. I don't, but there's some questionable parts of Kansas City.
Yeah.
And it's not like St. Louis. So with the sixth largest city in Missouri, you know, there's Springfield, St. Louis, Kansas City, you know, lots of places are bigger.
Yeah,
You know, this is a huge town square mileage wise. We're 40 square miles here. That's huge for the amount of people that live here. Manhattan Island in New York is 40 square miles, the same size. There's 8 million people that live in Manhattan. 8 million people that live in Manhattan and 76,000 here. So we're
good.
We're good. I'm on the next show. I think we're going to give everybody another update on the autism resource search and how that's going, because we've had a couple developments on that, and it's just a couple days from recording day. So we'll give everybody an update, and until then, we'll see ya.
Bye.